storming outside. Windy and raining, so hopefully it won't be too loud. Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today we are going to talk about all the books I read in the month of November. November was interesting. I actually ended up reading 7 books total, but I can only talk about 5 because 2 of them are part of a secret TBR that you're going to see coming up this weekend. There will be a reading vlog posted this weekend, and you will see what those are. So I'm not going to talk about them here, but I was finally able to do a secret TBR, and I'm so happy about it. But this was the lowest amount I think that I've read in a month for the year so far. And November was just, I don't know, I don't feel like we were overly busy outside the house, but inside, I was finishing up my class, my very last class. So I'm actually all good on that. And that took up a lot of my time, especially kind of the last week of November, leading up into Thanksgiving. I was working on a big project for that. So that kind of took up a lot of my time throughout the month. And so there is that. And then I did hit a little bit of a slumpy period where I felt like I was starting to get into a slump. So I had to kind of back off from that. And so it wasn't the highest for me as far as numbers, but I did enjoy most of what I read. So that's a plus. Okay, so the first book that I finished that I can talk about is The Dark Corners of the Night. This is by Meg Gardner. This is book number 3 in her Unsub series. The first one was Unsub. Second one was Into the Deep Black Nowhere. Into the Black Nowhere. I'll put a picture of it up here for book number 2. But this one is book number 3. So this follows an FBI detective who is hunting serial killers. That's her kind of specialty. That's her area of expertise. She does this for a living. And she is hunting somebody who is terrorizing a city in Los Angeles, or the city of Los Angeles. And it's interesting because this killer was specializing in houses. Number 1, the people were home. He was breaking in. And number 2, he was kind of targeting families. So people who have children, and he would kill the parents and leave the children unharmed or leave them traumatized, but he made sure that the children saw him. And so it was interesting with that. I can't figure out which serial killer this reflects because the first 2 books reflected famous serial killers. For this one, I want to say it could be kind of a Richard Ramirez thing because it was only at night. And, he was the Night Stalker. So maybe something like that is where she got her inspiration from. That's the only one I could think of. If anyone knows something different, please let me know. I'm not quite sure. I couldn't find anything with my research, but that's my guess. And I really enjoyed it. It was a 4-star read for me. It took me a little bit to get through, but it was good. I still, to this day, the first one is my favorite. I loved the first one so much. And then number 2 and number 3, I enjoyed. Didn't love, but I enjoyed them. So it was 4 stars. The next one that I finished was Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. This is a book of the month pick that I picked. And it is also the first book that my in-person book club read. And we're actually having our meeting tonight. So we're going to talk about it tonight. But I absolutely loved this. I gave it 5 stars. And I wasn't sure about it going in because I knew not to compare this to Beartown, which is one of my favorite books of all time. I knew it wasn't going to be that. And it wasn't. But it was still, I think, brilliantly done. I loved the way that he intermingled the characters, how they all have some sort of connection, and you don't think about it ahead of time. And then you're like, oh, it made so much sense at the end. And I really thought that he did that beautifully and just almost seamlessly. It was like, of course it's this person. Of course this makes sense. Of course, So this is about a bank robber who goes into a bank and attempts to rob it because, just down on their luck and can't, trying to make ends meet and all that. However, it goes terribly wrong. And it ends up in kind of a hostage situation where there is a group of people who were looking at an apartment and they end up with this bank robber, and they're all being held hostage. However, they are the worst hostages ever. Basically, it's so funny. It's funny. And that was the thing, is that I had heard that there were funny parts in here, and there really are, because these people are just ridiculous. And it's like people you don't want to be stuck with, but you're stuck with them. And yeah, it was really good. I really, really liked it. It makes you think too, like he does. And I thought it was fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. And the next one that I picked up a nonfiction, and that is Dear Fahrenheit 451. This is by Annie Spence. Now, this is the cutest little book ever. It's adorable. It is a collection of letters that Annie Spence writes to the books that she's read over the years. And she is a librarian. And it's books that she's either just loved completely, or books that they're weeding out of their collection for whatever reason. And she talks about them. She writes them letters. Some of them are love letters. Some of them are breakup letters. Some of them are WTF letters. And I loved every minute of this book. I really did. It was so funny. It was so funny. There is vulgar language in here, so be aware of that. There's language. She even writes a letter to a bookshelf at a party that she was at. Just like, it was so funny. And I laughed my way through it. And I have a list of 9 books now. I kept a little Post-it on the inside and wrote down books that I wanted to read because of this book. And I think only one of them I even own. Some of them I'd heard of, but not all of them. And only one of them I owned. So they have all gone onto my wish list now. And I plan to pick some of these up. So yeah, just so funny. And I laughed my way through it. I thought it was fantastic. There's a really good part at the end too that's just a bunch of book suggestions. And then some of them, there's a little list back here that is, let me see. There's a little list here, and it is celebrity autobiographies, fun with subtitles, and you have to match the titles and authors to their subtitles, and that was pretty funny. It was just like a little fun thing, and she references that list a couple times in here, but it was awesome. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and definitely a high recommend for me if you want something short and sweet, and if you're a book lover, for sure, I think you need to pick this up. And I gave it 5 stars. And Lindsay sent this one to me for our book exchange last year, so thank you, Lindsay. And then I picked up a book with Krista, and this is a book that we had both attempted to buddy read before, and she ended up putting it down. I didn't even start on it, so we were just like, another time. And then we decided to go ahead and do it now because the Netflix adaptation is now up. So we picked up Hillbillyology by J.D. Vance. This is another nonfiction. It's a memoir of a family and culture in crisis. And I have heard so many good things about this book, so many good things. And I listened to it on audio, and I didn't like it. And I know that I am in the minority on that one. And so was Krista. She didn't like it either. Neither one of us really enjoyed it. I thought it was boring, and I didn't really feel like I learned very much from it. So there is that. It is narrated by the author, which I thought, okay, cool, good. But I just didn't I felt like it was just a bunch of random stories from his childhood and growing up. I don't really feel like I got a lot of context because, I don't understand why this culture has these habits and stereotypes and all that. I didn't really get a whole lot of that. So it didn't really live up to the hype for me, unfortunately. So yeah, didn't enjoy this one, gave it 2 stars, but it was a quick read. So, if it's something that you're still interested in, or you want to, read it before you watch the adaptation, I would recommend the audiobook. It's only 7 hours. So it's pretty quick. I listened to it in 3 days, I think. And yeah, I don't know. It was just not what I was hoping it to be. But I do want to watch the adaptation because Amy Adams and Glenn Close, can't go wrong with that. The adaptation looks amazing. So I have a feeling this is going to be one of those the movie's better than the book type things. So I do still plan to watch it. And then I picked up Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. I read this one with Lindsay, and I do have a full reading vlog up for this one. It's completely spoiler filled. So if you haven't read this book and you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch it. But if you have read it and you want to get my full thoughts on it, it is available. I'll leave a link down below. So this was an interesting one. It was definitely my least favorite in the series, but I still gave it a 4-star because the last probably 250 pages of this book were phenomenal. But the first 350 pages were not that great. They were kind of boring. So I struggled with this one big time. I just, it's set in the same timeline as Empire Storms, which was book number 5 of this series. And I loved that book. That one was my favorite of the series. So I don't know what I was expecting. I should not have expected it to be just like Empire Storms because we're in a different place. We're following different characters. It's different. And I should have known that going in or just gone in with that expectation. But I had a hard time with that. So it didn't live up to my expectations. I wanted a lot more action than I got. I got it at the end, but I wanted it more throughout. We got little teasers of little teeny tiny things, but it wasn't enough. It was just enough to be like, ooh, and now we're boring again. Okay, great. Ooh, oh, now we're boring again. Yeah. But the last, again, like 250 pages were my Sarah J. Maas that I know and love. So I feel like this was supposed to be a novella in the beginning, and I feel like it should have been a novella. I really do. I think it should have been like a 300-page novella, and it would have been perfect. But no, we had to have 300 pages of filler first, and then we get to the good stuff. So a little disappointed in this one as far as it being part of the series. Important stuff still that will make, that will be important to the last book, but I just wanted more out of it for being a 660-page book. I wanted more out of that. So, but I still gave it 4 stars. I flirted with a 3, but I gave it a 4 because just the last part was just perfection. And that's all I can tell you about. I have 2 more books, but I can't talk about them. So you'll see them this weekend, I promise. Okay, so that's going to be it for me for November. Again, not super heavy on the quantity, but quality was, pretty good. I only had 2 that I was disappointed in, but one of them was still a 4 star. So I know it doesn't make sense to anyone but me. It's totally fine. Okay, that is going to be it for this. Tomorrow I will be back with my TBR for December. It is stupid. So make sure you tune in for that. And yeah, let me know what you read in November. Let me know how your reading month was. Let me know if you read any of these books that I talked about and what your thoughts were too. And I will see you guys again very soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.